today's session we will learn about ecological foundations of Evergreen Revolution. World Summit on Sustainable Development held in 2003 in Johannesburg, South Africa has recognized essential requirement of 5 elements that are water, energy, health, agriculture and biodiversity. These 5 elements are required for the sustainable production and provision of food as the basic need of the human. The Scientific American issue of September 2005 also devoted a discussion on planet Earth at crossroads. That is, the world is facing challenges of increasing population, unsustainable resource utilization, environmental degradation, and overshoot of ecological footprint, which is beyond the biocapacity of our planet Earth. The ecological footprint is basically a resource management tool that measures how much of land and water a human population requires to produce a resource which he consumes and to absorb the waste it generates under the prevailing technology. So, every action of humans impacts the planet's ecosystem. The Green Revolution should become Evergreen Revolution rooted in the principles of ecology, economics, social and gender equality. So in this session, let us understand the sustainable management of soil health, management of crop pest, nutrient management, conservation of rainwater, renewable energy, and biodiversity conservation as the ecological foundations of Evergreen Revolution. So the first one is soil. There are 2 major things which are affecting the soil: soil erosion and soil health and fertility. It takes 100 to 400 years to form 1 centimeter of a soil. So you can imagine soil is a renewable as well as non-renewable resource. So the reasons for soil erosions are deforestation, loss of vegetation cover, inappropriate tillage and cropping techniques, and practices like shifting cultivation. Due to these practices, there is a result of loss of nutrients and decline in productivity potential of the soil. So, what are the measures for preventing soil erosions? We can keep the natural drains open, not the closed, when we construct the road and the railway line. Also, we can avoid deforestation, shifting cultivation, overgrazing, and improper cropping of undulating lands, and bunding without the vegetation cover to reduce the runoff, and this will eventually lead to the increase in groundwater recharge. Let us understand about soil health and fertility. Soil health and fertility are important for nutrient supply for the crops. earthworm, and a host of many beneficial microorganisms like nitrogen fixing bacteria. They help in the improving the soil health. Organic measures like farmyard manure, compost, green manure, various oil cake and waste product of animal origins like dried blood or bones, fish manure, urine. These are extremely important and useful in improving the soil texture and soil fertility. There are many practices to improve the soil fertility, such as cereal legume rotation is often recommended. Stem modulating legumes like Sesbania rotesta is recommended to be grown, and it has been found that it can enrich the soil nutrition in the range of 100 to 120 kgs of nitrogen for per hectare of the land. Similarly, azolla, blue-green algae and other sources of symbiotic and non-symbiotic nitrogen fixation are also beneficial for soil fertility. Vermiculture, composting and organic manure, they also improve the fertility of the soil. Farmers are trained to make use of soil health, wherein the impact of farming system on physical, chemical and microbiological component of soil fertility are monitored on regular basis. Let us understand next ecological foundation, that is integrated pest management. Integrated pest management aims at eliminating all concern about potential undesirable side effects of synthetic chemicals. Integrated pest management is defined as a pest management system that, in context of the associated environment and population dynamics of the pest species, they utilize all the suitable techniques and methods as compatible as possible, and it also maintains the pest population level below this, causing economic injury. In integrated pest management, pest population dynamics and threshold introduced concept of population ecology, ecosystem science and economics pest management. These all concepts are interrelated. So, conceptually, integrated pest management operates at the interface of ecological and socio-economic systems. We can identify basic steps of integrated pest management into 5 components. The first one is identify, which basically monitor the causal agent. We evaluate, that is assess the extent of damage done by the pest. Third one is prevent. Pest problems can be reduced by practices like we can plant early, we can rotate the crop, we can create barrier against the climbing pest. Sanitation, we can include sealing cracks. These are the few measures for the prevention. The fourth one is action. Multiple tools to reduce pest below economically damaging level. And the last one is to monitor. In this, we examine the pest population. If less population is there, so no further treatment are required. And when more pest population are there, then we have to adopt a multi-mode of measures to reduce the pest population. Pheromones can be utilized to catch or detect insects. What are pheromones? Pheromones are basically chemicals which are emitted by animals that signals another animals of the same species. One of the finest example is a female gypsy moth which emit pheromones to attract the male. So what we can do, we can use a bag with the pheromones for an effective tool of integrated pest management. Now we can understand next ecological foundation, that is integrated nutrient management. From biologically aspect of soil fertility management, integrated nutrient management seeks tight cycling which is synchronous between the demand of crop and the nutrient release within the soil, while minimizing the loss of nutrient through the leaching, runoff, volatilization and immobilization. So integrated nutrient management is a strategy that incorporates both the organic and inorganic plant nutrient for providing pathways to increase the nutrient availability and attain higher crop productivity, thus preventing the soil degradation. Both integrated nutrient management and integrated pest management require close interaction between the scientist and the modern scientific inputs and with the traditional farmers with their ecological prudence and practice experiences of soil management. Thus, both of these management systems require a bottom-up or a participatory approach between the scientist and the traditional rural farmer community. Let us understand the conservation and sustainable use of rainwater. There are various techniques to conserve the rainwater. The harvesting and conserving rainwater is very much crucial for these days as water has become deficit. We need to promote conjunctive use of river, rain, ground, sea and sewage water in appropriate combinations. This will prevent the unsustainable exploitation of our aquifers. This will also ensure efficiency, economy and equity in water use through cooperative management of watershed and the command areas. We need to introduce proactive measures to avoid the water conflict. What we can do? We can adopt a method of a micro irrigation. Micro irrigation is based on fundamental concept of irrigation which irrigate only the root zone of the crop rather than the entire land surface and maintain the water content of the root zone at the near optimal level. Examples of these are drip irrigation, or sprinklers. It is an eco-friendly irrigation system which can save up to more than 60% of water and increase the yield to the extent of 40 to 50% over the surface irrigation. In India, micro irrigation was originally practiced through some indigenous techniques like those in Meghalaya. They use an indigenous system of tapping the stream and spring water by using bamboo pipes and to use them for a irrigation of various plantations. Similarly, perforated clay pipes and pitchers are used in Maharashtra and Rajasthan of India. More recently, sophisticated biotechnology methods are utilized to improve the genetic shielding against the drought to the crop by incorporating drought resistance genes. These drought resistant genes can be obtained from sturdy species like Prosopis juliflora. Such method involve recombinant DNA technology to transfer these drought tolerant genes from Prosopis species to our cultivated rice paddy plants. Micro irrigation has emerged as an appropriate water saving techniques for row crops, especially for wide spaced high value crops in the water scarcity, undulated, sandy and hilly area of India. It is recognized as a more crop per drop is the driving force for competitiveness in the global market. Micro irrigation system thus has emerged as one of the best options to face the challenges for enhanced crop yield per unit of water. Use of renewable energy is the next ecological foundation of Evergreen revolution. Most of the farm operations like plowing, planting seeds, harvesting, these require energy requiring tractors, harvesters, threshers. These all are energy intensive process and these require considerable amount of fossil fuels and eventually they release the greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. But when it comes to the pumping out of groundwater for irrigation, both the electricity and diesel are extensively used by millions of small and medium farmers. Since energy is an essential input, every effort should be made to harness biologically available energy that can be in the form of biogas, biomass, solar and wind energies to maximum extent possible. Solar and wind energies could be used in hybrid combination with the biogas for farm operations like pumping of water or drying the grains. In a mixed dynamic farming, that is combination of crop and farm animals, animals can provide power for plowing, drought, while the cow dung can be used to generate biogas for cooking, lighting. These are eco-friendly and are affordable by small farming families. These can also be used to be diverse kind of pullet drawn devices to lift water from open well in different regions of India. These practices should be revived as many of these have become obsolete with the development of diesel and electrical pumps. Recent studies have shown that emerging trend of no-till cultivation also help in saving energy, especially in the large mechanized farms. Let us understand about the biodiversity conservation. Biodiversity is one of the key components of our basic life support system. The term agrobiodiversity refers to a variety of crop and livestock organisms, land races and species that contribute to the food and agriculture production. Agriculture biodiversity comprise all the elements from gene to the agriculture ecosystems that are used in the food production. These includes crops, trees, fish, livestock, as well as the interacting species of pollinators, pests, pesticides and predators. These all forms the biodiversity component. Biodiversity in particular has a traditionally conserved by the forest dwelling tribal communities. Within the framework of Evergreen Revolution, steps should be taken to revitalize the genetic conservation tradition of tribal and rural families through social recognition of their contributions and creation of an economic stake in conservation. Two acts, namely the Protection of Plant Varieties and Farmers' Rights Act of 2001 and Biological Diversity Act of 2002 are provisions for conservation of biological diversity. Besides, the provision for economic stake for primary conservers, the MS Swaminathan Research Foundation, they have developed a strategy of cultivation, consumption and commercialization for ensuring conservation of threatened land races and indigenous variety of rice, pulses and millets. Thus, a system of cultivation along with the conservation is key to ensure that traditional varieties and land races are not totally replaced with a few high-yielding varieties. Conserving and enhancing useful gene of low-yielding traditional variety are very much important. These traditional variety often source for a gene for a biotic stress like pest and diseases and abiotic stress like drought, salinity, submergence. December 26, 2004, tsunami have saturated the coastal rice field with the seawater. This has enhanced the salinity to such a high level that improved rice variety totally perished. But a few local traditional variety remain unaffected and produced low level of yield. Why? Because these have the genes for salinity and submergence tolerance. Thus, we need to preserve these local varieties as well. The goal of Evergreen Revolution requires conservation and enhancement of such traditional varieties of plants. Let us now understand community-centered gene seed grain water banks. The MS Swaminathan Research Foundation, they have developed a community-centered gene seed grain water banks with the view to link livelihood security of the farmer conservers with the ecological security. This has mainly to help the rural and tribal women and men who have been largely responsible for in situ on-farm conservation of land races. The on-farm conservation by rural and tribal community does not receive public or private funding, or they do not have any recognition or reward, but still they promote the sustainable agriculture. This flow shows an integrated gene management at in situ level and ex situ level. In situ level, we have national parks, protected areas, while at ex situ levels, we have botanical gardens, zoological gardens, gene banks. Besides in situ and ex situ, we have a community conservation, which again we can divide into in situ, which we can call as an on-farm conservation, and ex situ, which can be on-farm conservation. The MS Swaminathan Research Foundation, they have developed a model of ex situ community gene bank and in situ on-farm conservation. The ex situ community gene bank is unique in the sense that the accessions are developed by the rural and tribal farming families. So they have evolved and conserved these accessions and deposited them in a medium-term storage facility which is maintained at 4 degrees Celsius and 25% of relative humidity. This is called Community Gene Bank. This is located at MS Swaminathan Research Foundation at Chennai. A duplicate sample of each accession is also stored in long-term cold storage at National Gene Bank as an additional safeguard. The accession in the Community Gene Bank at MSSRF are also conserved in situ on-farm by the tribal and rural families. Thus, the in situ on-farm conservation provide the fresh seeds with the higher percentage of germination after each growing season, and it also allows the natural evolutionary processes to go on. Another important dimension of in situ on-farm conservation is opportunity for a participatory breeding, which involves farmer conservers and experts plant breeders. So we have bring together the modern scientific know-how and traditional knowledge together in evolving a local specific crop varieties. Another aspect of Evergreen Revolution is to link conservation, cultivation and consumption in a mutually reinforcing manner. For this, it will be useful to foster the establishment of community gene, seed, water and grain banks at all the village level. So we can have a gene bank which is an in situ on-farm conservation in the field gene bank. We can have a seed bank, which is an ex situ seed bank as a seed security. We can have a water bank, which can conserve the rain, ground and surface water resources. And finally, we can have a gene bank to cater emergencies of genes required to improve the varieties. So in this session, we have learned about ecological foundation of evergreen revolution through sustainable management of soil health, through management of crop pest. We have also understand about the nutrient management, conservation of rainwater, utilization of renewable sources of energy, and at the last we have learned about the biodiversity conservation. Thank you and happy learning to all.